Hi, this is Mr. G doing a quick review on the characteristics of the 6 kingdoms, our current 6 kingdoms. First of all, let's look at some of the really old organisms, the microorganisms such as the bacteria. Bacteria do not have a nuclei. They do not have membrane-bound organelles. They're very simplistic, but amazing creatures. And so we place them into the kingdom Archaebacteria. These are old, ancient critters that are single-celled prokaryotes. Prokaryote means that they don't have a nucleus. And the archaebacteria, just like an archaeologist, if we look at that word, then we think of archaeologists studying old things, right? So an archaebacteria has been around a very long period of time, and they live in very harsh environments. They can live in places like Yellowstone and the hot pots of Yellowstone. They can live in the Great Salt Lake. In other words, they live in some pretty inhospitable environments. Then there's another bacterial kingdom called Eubacteria, and the Eubacteria live about everywhere else. They populate our skin, inside of our bodies. Again, they're prokaryotes. They lack a nucleus. They lack membrane-bound organelles. The difference between the archaebacteria and the eubacteria, first of all, the archaebacteria lived a lot longer ago. They lived some of the first living things on the planet, but they also have a different construction in their cell wall and membrane. The next kingdom that we want to review is kingdom Protista, or the Protist. Most protists are single-celled. When you look at the difference between Protista, archaea, and eubacteria, the protist, more advanced, have a nucleus, and so their DNA is housed within that archivable organelle. So they have their DNA in a nucleus, and they also have membrane-bound organelles. So when you're comparing single-celled organisms, if they are prokaryotic, in other words, if they do not have a nucleus or membrane-bound organelles, it has to be an archaebacteria or eubacteria. If they do have a nucleus and they're single-celled, they have those membrane-bound organelles, it's got to be a protist. Now, protists can be, colonial and multicellular. But again, most of them are going to be single-celled. Single-celled examples would be like an amoeba, a paramecium, a didinium. An example of a colonial protist could be a filamentous algae, like Ulothrix, Spirogyra, Oregonium, or even a volvox, a wonderful spherical colony. Multicellular examples of protistans would be things like kelp, sea lettuce, the seaweeds. Okay, let's move on then to kingdom fungi. The fungus among us. Fungi can be single-celled. A good single-celled example, the exception to multicellularity in fungi, would be the yeast. So they are all heterotrophic. They have their membrane-bound organelles. Most are multicellular. They're going to be decomposers, so they break things down. A typical fungus that you would recognize is a mushroom. Okay. Years ago, fungus were classified as plants. Understandable. They don't move about, and they look kind of plant-like, but they really aren't plants at all. Their cell walls are made of chitin and not cellulose. They don't have any chloroplasts. They're not photosynthetic, so they're not autotroph or producers. They're completely consumers. Okay, next one, kingdom plantae. Plants, a wonderful world of plants. All plants are multicellular. Plants have a cell wall made of cellulose. Plants are producers and make their own food through the process called photosynthesis. And they're primarily green. Right? They give off that green line. Can't move about from place to place. Unless you're dreaming. If you see a plant tiptoeing across your lawn, you're in a dream state. Next kingdom, the wonderful kingdom of Animalia, of which you are a part of. You are a multicellular creature. So animals are multicellular. They can move about from place to place. At some point in their life cycle, they're always heterotrophic, consumers. They have to consume food, consume other organisms to get the energy that is needed for life. And to carry out the metabolic processes needed. So multicellular, can move about, heterotrophic, no cell wall. Cells are primarily circular in shape, have no chloroplast at all. Okay, so really quickly, let's review. And what I want to do is to give you some characteristics and then have you try to guess what kind of organism I'm thinking about. So this organism is single-celled. It's a prokaryote, and it lives in harsh environments. What do you think that is? That's right, archaebacteria. Okay, second one. It lives on your skin, has no nucleus, no membrane-bound organelles. What kingdom do you think that belongs to? That's right, Eubacteria. Very nice. This kingdom, organisms in this kingdom can be plant-like, animal-like, or fungal-like. And they can be single-celled. Most of them are single-celled. They can be multicellular, like, say, seaweed or a kelp. And they can be colonial as well. What kingdom would these organisms belong to? An example would be a Didinium or a Paramecium. Okay, next one. Decomposers. Cell wall made of chitin. Think of the example of yeast. What kingdom am I talking about? Kingdom fungi. Very nice. Multicellular. Can move about from place to place. Is a consumer. Has to consume food to survive. No cell wall. Does not have a chloroplast. You're right. Kingdom Animalia. Last one. Multicellular. Can photosynthesize. Cells are basically rectangular in shape. Cellulose as the support material in the cell wall. What kingdom do I speak of? You're right. Kingdom plantae. Well, thanks for joining us. A quick little review on some of the characteristics of the kingdoms, or current 6-kingdom classification system. Hope you enjoyed that, and it was a helpful review. All right, have a good one.